Hello, everyone. I am Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Hotlap Vodcast for today, the 29th of January. This is a brand new podcast that I am doing every week. Motorsport news. As you can tell, I'm already kitted up, ready for the podcast today, wearing, of course, a nice Mercedes t-shirt here. I'm joined by Formula One fan Jack Surridge this week. Hello, Jack.
Hello, Charlie. How are you on this rather cold Friday afternoon?
Yeah, isn't that warm out there, isn't it? We're going to start, obviously, with Formula One, and horrendous news to hear the other day that Adrian Campos died at the age of 60. And Jack, what a huge loss for F1, wasn't it?
What a huge loss, and it was very sudden, Charlie. And a lot of the Formula One paddock paid their tributes. He raced 17 races in Formula One. It wasn't particularly successful, but he then founded the Campos Racing Team, which races in Formula 2, Formula 3, and Italian Formula 4. He's a big loss, isn't he, to the Formula 2, Formula 3, and Italian Formula 4, and obviously Formula 1 as well. Worlds, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I have to say, he's a massive loss to everyone, to the whole sport. He was the one that got Lando Norris into Formula 1. I think he joined Campos in his rookie year. Or Fernando Alonso, two-time champion. Many drivers, Zach, he was involved with. Jack, he was involved with over his career in motorsport.
Yeah, and obviously the most famous one, Charlie, is Charlie Tolhurst. Not you, Charlie. Fernando Alonso. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah, Fernando Alonso. Yeah, the two-time champion who actually won 2 championships, Renault in 05 and 06, did Alonso. And Jack, I have to say, he's a massive person, isn't he? When you look at, obviously, Campos Racing in Formula 2, they had some very popular drivers, didn't they, in GP2?
They did. They had popular drivers. So, yeah, he raced like Lando Norris, people like that. So, yeah, it's a really big influence into the modern-day Formula 1 world.
It is, isn't it? And I have to say as well, when you go and look at what happened as well, he actually did, I think, buy a stake in the team between 2010 and 2012, if I remember, when they first raced in Bahrain that year.
He did when they done a Formula 1 test. They actually built a Formula 1 car, but they never entered Formula 1. He did sell them, though. I think it was in 2012 he sold them.
Yes, he sold them in 2012, yes. Yeah, I've heard about that earlier today. So, yeah, it's a huge loss. Adrian Campos dies at the age of 60. Horrendous loss, and my thoughts are with him right now. We're going to move on, Jack. Lots to talk about today. Car launches. Where do we start? McLaren launching their car mid-February. The MCL 35M. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one that it's not. I don't think it'll be the first car launch. I think we get ones earlier, but obviously the testing's a lot later than usual this year. So probably means the car launches are going to be slightly later than usual as well. But the problem I have, Charlie, is the travel restrictions are now very tough here in the UK, and I'm struggling to wonder how Formula One's going to get around this to get the first few rounds of the season on.
Well, yeah, the hotel quarantine is going to be an issue, certainly in this country. But I still think Bahrain's plausible to go ahead, without a doubt.
I think Bahrain will go ahead. I'm hearing the international football and other international sports are still going on, so I don't see there's any reason why they won't allow Formula 1 to go on. But I think maybe if this national lockdown extends as far as we think it might extend, it may put the start of the season under a bit of threat.
Yeah, I'm not going to go in much into the lockdown politics here. I do hopefully think it will be March the 8th when everything slowly starts getting back to some kind of normality. Let's hope so. I mean, the British Grand Prix, Jack, again, I asked you a question about this last time. Do you think they'll get a small crowd at Silverstone potentially?
I did say yes last month. I'm now a bit skeptical, I think. I don't know, because the government, they won't open it up easy. I think if they go back to the tiers and Silverstone in tier 1 or tier 2, then they will get a small crowd in. But you have to remember, Silverstone's a big venue.
Massive, isn't it?
That I think honestly they could get more.
And it's outside as well, isn't it? As well, unlike some other.
I think they could safely get more than 4,000 fans in there.
Yeah, they could definitely. I mean, we've got the Classic as well. That event in July. That event attracts thousands of people watching. I
think for the economy side of it, Silverstone need the fans there.
100%. They need the fans at Silverstone, the circuit, without a doubt. Otherwise, like last year, it just felt a bit eerie. It felt like being in a testing venue without any fans there. It was strange. I mean, let's hope the British Grand Prix gets fans this year. I mean, the event will go ahead, obviously. It's in.
I'm hearing that the Bahrain Grand Prix will be a behind closed doors event. So
yeah, I think that's very likely that's going to go behind closed doors. It's a shame, but I think at least it's the first race of the season. That's what we want people to have. We need a race. We need a calendar this year.
Honestly, Charlie, we have big news today that all the timings have been announced for the following races, haven't they? All season, and it has.
Yes, I've heard about that. Yeah,
that we're reverting back to the 60-minute practice sessions now as well.
Oh, we just lost Jack there for the seconds. I'm sorry. All the times were reverting back to the original hour, I believe.
For practice, I think. Yeah.
For practice, yeah. Sorry, my internet must have decided it wanted to break down there. So yeah, Formula One are reverting back to the original practice times. I'm guessing that will probably help a lot more with sort of the day, with like how the event action unfolds. It's a big move.
I think this is probably more to do with the W Series coming in, Charlie.
Yes, exactly. W Series.
Obviously, alongside Formula 2 and Formula 3, obviously that those championships revert into a 3-race weekend. I think that's probably why they've reverted to the 1-hour sessions.
Yeah, I think it's hope. Let's hopeful that it can get the W. I mean, the W Series is the new event, isn't it? Coming to F1.
Yeah, it is. I welcome that by Formula One to get the women racing drivers on the Formula One weekends. I think that's really important for any woman's confidence who wants to get into Formula One. You know, there's places for them. I've watched some of those drivers in W Series. Jamie Chadwick, for example. They've got some real talent.
Alice Powell, Bess Hawkins.
They've got some real talent.
One of them actually went into the BTCC last year, actually. Jess Hawkins. She scored points last year at Assen and Brands Hatch, I think.
Yeah, and Jade Edwards, Charlie, is becoming one of the first female drivers to be signed permanently in a British racing on the British Racing Series since a long time ago. Yeah,
British Touring Car Championship there. Yeah, she's got BTC Racing, actually. She's moving to that team. So it's going to be good. I mean, I can't wait for obviously, Formula One have got the W Series support series, but you've also got, as well in the BTC, you've got Jade Edwards coming in at BTC Racing.
You've also got like the likes of Tatiana Calderon, Charlie.
Yes.
Formula 2. Sophia Flörsch in Formula 3.
Hopefully, you've got one of those should hopefully get a Formula 1 seat in the future. I mean, I'd love to see Calderon in there. She used to be a Sauber test driver all those years ago. So she's a good fit at, say, Alfa Romeo if Kimi Räikkönen or Antonio Giovinazzi steps down in the future.
Yeah, I think she is one of the Alfa Romeo reserve drivers, isn't she? She's there.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
She's there if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, she is. She is definitely. Now, what about car launches now? So we've got McLaren launching their new car. What do you expect McLaren's new car, Jack, is going to feature?
I think they may change their colour to silver, going like with the Mercedes theme and orange and silver kind of thing. But I actually expect Mercedes to keep the black livery this year. Yeah,
the black livery. Yeah, they're going to go. They're not going with this one, unfortunately. They're usually the silver arrows.
I don't know about you, Charlie, but I actually quite liked that black livery last year. I thought that looked quite nice.
It was quite a nice livery. I thought it was really stunning to see. Obviously, Mercedes using that livery, and obviously Lewis Hamilton as well supporting the BLM movement. Very encouraging to see racing.
That car would look amazing around Singapore or like Jeddah or somewhere like that.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I think Mercedes will keep the black livery. I think looking at car launches, I mean, I saw just recently, I think, a video of Sebastian Vettel arriving at Aston Martin's factory last week for a seat.
No, I've heard Carlos Sainz has also tested the SF71 at Fiona yesterday.
Yeah, he's been testing apparently. What do you make of his first time stepping into a Ferrari, Jack?
I don't think he done too bad. I had a look at some of his laps, and they look pretty decent. But whether he will be up there with Charles Leclerc in his first few races, he probably won't be. He's got to get used to the car. So.
I mean, Sainz has stepped up from to Ferrari. I mean, they've had a difficult year last year, Jack. What are you expecting Ferrari are going to have in 2021?
I don't know. I think they could be strong at some circuits. Maybe Catalonia. They've upgraded to turn 10 there. They've relayed it, so that's looking. What did you like that original turn 10 first, Charlie?
Yeah, well, the old one used to be quite wide. It didn't used to be tight. It used to be quite like a wide corner. It was almost like banked. But the new one was very tight.
New one's quite tight, and I've heard it's for MotoGP. They're more doing this for the safety.
Yeah,
I don't think it would really impact Formula One, but they've also got that other bit you can use as well. That might be a better option for overtaking, mightn't it, to use that?
Yeah, well, if it's to fit, obviously 2 cars side by side, then you certainly want to widen the corner out. I mean, Zandvoort have done it with their banking. Surely Catalonia would want to do that with turn 10.
Do you think Catalonia could bank the final corner to make it more interesting?
Well, you'd have to get Herman Tilke on that, involved on that construction, surely. But yeah, I think I'd love to see the bank last corner. But the thing is, you've got gravel on the left hand side.
Yeah, I don't think it's really possible, is it?
No, I mean, that's the thing. It's not a great circuit. I'm not going to be rude here. I don't actually like the circuit at Catalonia. I find it a nightmare to overtake on.
I was a bit disappointed when they announced a new contract of it, Charlie.
It's a shame. I wish you want to go back to somewhere like. To be honest with you, we are going to touch on F1 circuits in a bit. I think obviously the move the pre-season testing from Catalonia to Bahrain. It's a good move. Well,
I'm glad they did that, Charlie. But Bahrain's a much better facility.
It is, yeah, exactly. I think given that we can see Ferrari improve, and I mean Ferrari had last year had the worst season since 1980. I mean they had an awful year last year.
It was a pretty dreadful season, wasn't it? It
was horrendous. I'm just getting the constructors' standings up now and seeing how many points Ferrari actually scored. They scored 131 points
compared to Mercedes 300 odd or something, wasn't it?
573. Yeah. Mercedes got. And they actually Ferrari finished 6th in the constructors' championship. That's very disappointing.
It's disappointing, Charlie, considering Mercedes could have still won the Constructors' Championship if Valtteri Bottas had retired from every single race.
Yeah, that's how the maths works. I think as well, you've got to look at basically the points last year, the results. They didn't start. They could have started. They started really well. Leclerc with a podium in Austria, but then in the second race, they both went into each other at turn 2.
They did. That was a strange incident. I don't think that really helped them, if I'm honest.
That was the worst. I don't understand why Leclerc decided to basically Leclerc oversteered into his team.
It was a dive bomb move. He done the same in Bahrain. I remember at turn 1 on the second start at the Bahrain Grand Prix. He did the same. They managed to avoid each other that time.
Well, they just about did, but I mean, Leclerc's quite an aggressive driver. You've got to make it out. He's quite aggressive, isn't he, Charles Leclerc?
He's quite aggressive, the Monegasque. But again, all of these new young drivers are quite aggressive, aren't they?
They are, and I think as well, you have to look at specifically the way that Formula One drivers are very aggressive, and then to see them sometimes come together in the first corner or the first lap. It really depends on things, doesn't it?
It does. It does definitely depend on things. obviously you've got to look at where other cars are, whether they collide. Sometimes you can collide into your teammate and it can be absolutely no fault of your own.
No, exactly, Jack. Now, I want to move on to Formula One, more news on F1 now. And Lewis Hamilton, we still don't know yet what's happening with him regarding to his contract. I've been hearing reports that he could be signing a one-year deal with Mercedes to stay on till the end of the season. What do you see, Jack, at the moment with Hamilton? Do you think he'll stay?
Well, I've been told by Daily Mail that they were told by a Mercedes representative that we have to think of the contract as done and confirmed, and it will be announced very soon. If I'm honest, I think he'll do more than a one-year deal. I think he'll want a multi-year deal.
He will, won't he? Because Hamilton, he needs to get on the track. You got to think Hamilton, surely he'll stay in F1 beyond the regulation change in 2022. So I'm thinking surely Hamilton has got more of a future in the sport if he signs a new deal with Mercedes, surely.
Yeah, because without a doubt, he's in Formula One this year. Like he will sign the contract, you can guarantee
it. Yeah, 100%. I agree. That's Hamilton will definitely sign a contract, but is for how long for? And the thing is, Jack, as well, Esteban Ocon, where do you see him going after 2021?
I think you say it, Renault. They've Alpine as it is now. They've got a good car, Alpine. I think they did last year.
What about Fernando Alonso moving to that team?
Yeah, it's a good move. They've gone for more experience. He probably could only manage 2 or 3 years at max, just purely because of his age.
Yeah, and you got to think as well with Alonso. He is used to be a world champion. He's got years of experience racing Michael Schumacher with Felipe Massa, all these drivers. But Jack, Alonso's got to perform well this year because apparently Renault are claiming that Alpine are claiming that they've got a very strong car for 2021.
He's got to perform well just because Alpine is a new team, isn't it? It's got a big profile. So he's got to perform well, otherwise he could be out.
I mean, yeah, you got to think. Well, you've got to remember the McLaren Honda days with Fernando Alonso. He's horrendous finishing. I remember, I think it was the 2016 Japanese Grand Prix or something, where he was complaining about when he was being overtaken by Toro Rossos into turn 1, and we had a very famous team radio quote, GP2 engine, Jack. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that might have been Spa actually, if I remember correctly. He did make a quote GP2 engine. It was quite funny at the time. Equally, now you realise, okay, that car was pretty rubbish.
It was. I mean, Jack, you can just say like McLaren struggled. I mean, in 2017, they went for a complete upgrade with Honda. Went for a complete upgrade with their engine. They completely redone like where the cylinders are. Like they tried to change the powertrain up of the engine, give it like all new sort of cylinder racks, all new sort of. It was like very reminiscent to how Mercedes' engine configuration is, but it didn't help their performances in 2017, didn't it?
It didn't really, and it was really more 2018 that you started to notice the difference that they were a point scoring team.
Yeah, but even then they didn't have a great year. I mean, they were going in full of ambition, and it ended up winning downhill for them.
It did, but they did get an 8th place in Australia on the opening round, so they didn't do too bad. Though. It was definitely better. It was an improvement on the 2017 season. Yeah,
100%. I think thing is, Alonso's got to score well. Jack, where do you see Alonso doing well this year, particularly on some of the more sort of technical circuits?
I think he'll do well at Spain if we can get the fans in. That will definitely boost his confidence. I'm starting to wonder, though, is he going to be taken over by the Ferrari fans with Carlos Sainz? Definitely at Monza, definitely at Imola, which is, by the way, is being called the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix again. So that is Ferrari's home event, isn't it, Imola? So he will be dominated there with Carlos Sainz fans.
Alonso has got a good record at some circuits, particularly like like obviously Imola, he's got a good record there. He's won, I think, in 2005 or 2006, one of the years. But also as well, Alonso has generally got a good record on most of these circuits. Like he's won most of the races on the calendar. So surely Alonso has a chance.
He's got a chance. I wouldn't say he's a race winner. I wouldn't say it's a podium finisher yet. He's a point scorer. Definitely.
You got to think as well, Alonso's got to get his act together this year. And it's going to be very interesting how we're going to see and step into that RM, whatever Alpine call their car this year. We don't know. But I mean, Jack, what do you make of Ferrari's new car for 2021 when it gets launched?
Well, I haven't actually seen it yet. When it gets launched, I'm sure it will be a pretty good car. No, it can't be much worse than last year, can it?
Let's hope not. I'm not I hope it's not going to be any bad. But yeah, I mean, Ferrari have got to do well. I mean, what do you make of McLaren with Daniel Ricciardo? What do you reckon he's going to deliver? Do you think McLaren could win?
He's a podium finisher and probably a race winner for McLaren.
He has won. Is the 2018 Monaco Grand Prix when he fended off a Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel when he had an MG UK failure. I mean, do you reckon, and Jack, this is a prediction here for both of us, do you think Daniel Ricciardo will win a race in 2021? Do you think McLaren will finally get a win?
It's possible. It's definitely possible. Whether it will happen, I can't say right now.
You've got to think they're going to have Mercedes engines this year as well, which really is going to help them.
Obviously, they're getting last year's Mercedes engine, which obviously we know was an absolute beast, wasn't it?
It was a massive beast, especially in the racing points. They were massively fast last year.
Yeah, but they would have had the 2019 engine. You get the engine like the year before. So if you're racing in 2021, you get the 2020 engine, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But what about, I mean, Jack, what do you think what do you reckon McLaren's best shot at a win's going to be? What circuit?
It's going to be a circuit where it's hard to overtake, I think.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I'd say Imola. That's a difficult one to overtake on. Maybe
I'm more thinking at like Sochi or somewhere like that.
Oh, one of the more nine. McLaren do have a good car on some of these more technical tracks. I've been hearing like Sochi, particularly more like sort of tracks in 90. Azerbaijan could do quite well on, especially the straights, because I
think Mercedes are always dominant in Azerbaijan. It will be hard to knock them there.
In Azerbaijan, definitely. I think that circuit looks really tough, especially to drive. But I think as well, I could say Zandvoort could be a potential one for McLaren, because if you think about it, Zandvoort, when I looked at when I've driven the circuit on the F1 2020 game, it's quite narrow, and also there's not massively long straights, so it's quite difficult there to overtake.
It's a very narrow circuit. It's an extremely fast circuit as well. You're going to see mistakes. It's just whoever wins that race it'll be the driver who's kept their head the whole race.
Yeah, exactly. We really hope that McLaren do well on that event. So that's all the Formula One news. But Formula E, what have we got in Formula E? And Jack, as you said earlier in this podcast, there's been some changes to the Formula E calendar. Could you explain to listeners exactly what changes have been announced?
Yeah, I think they've postponed a few of their races due to travel restrictions, haven't they?
They have actually, yes. I'm just getting the Formula E article up now, if I may. And yes, Formula E have actually announced that they are postponing some of the races, which is a shame. The season, I believe, is still scheduled to go ahead next month in Diriyah, if I'm believed to be correct. But I mean, Jack, what do you make of Formula E's lineup this year?
Yeah, I'm actually just looking, Charlie, saying Formula E's announced a second set of races. The Formula E has revealed the next 6 rounds of the 2020 to 2021 calendar, with the series set to race on a permanent track for the first time in its history. The revised schedule of the first Formula E season with World Championship status is still subject to approval by the FIA. It says running under strict COVID-19 protocols, the Rome E-Prix will return 10th of April, subject to circuit homologation, for which DS Techeetah, Nissan Edams, Dragon Penske Autosport will debut their new powertrains.
Yeah, I heard about that. What do you make then of the new drivers in this event, like new teams?
Yeah, I do make of it, Charlie, but the biggest news, it says that FE will return to the circuit Ricciardo Tomo in Valencia site for 4 post-preseason tests on the 24th of April. Subject to Valenuga, Valencia will mark the first time Formula E has raced on a permanent circuit, Charlie.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I was just going to touch on that right now, actually. Basically, Formula E were planning on hosting a permanent race on a permanent circuit. I mean, that would be fantastic. And I'd really love to see. It'd be very different, Jack, as well.
That would be I love Formula E. The only thing I would change on it is the racetracks.
The racetracks?
Yeah. I like street circuits, but they have too many of them. Like, why not go to Valencia? Why not go to Monza? Why not go to Silverstone?
Yeah, well, if you go to Silverstone on a shorter circuit, not the full one, because it's 3.6 miles, you've got to think Formula E have got to have a lot like battery. They've got battery life as well. They'd probably go on the international or the national circuit. But I'd love to see Formula E maybe go on some sort of more sort of conventional circuits. I mean, into Virgin, you've got Sam Bird going to Jaguar. What do you make of those driver changes?
Yeah, I make a lot of those driver changes. I think, Sam Bird's a brilliant driver. Hopefully he can do the British population proud this year. The other thing I would change with Formula E is the one-day event. I don't like this one-day event. Do it 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. I think the season's got. I think they've got to change the testing up. I mean, you've got to think the drivers have got to get ready. They've got to get they've got to get all the testing done. They've got to test the batteries out. Batteries might have to be charged out again. It's very difficult, isn't it, Jack? Formula E is a sport that is very unusual to everyone. It's an electric racing series, and many people are like, is Formula E going to take on from Formula One in the future?
It might do, Charlie. And the other big news this year that the Paris E-Prix has unfortunately been cancelled and will not return in 2021, but they are hoping for it to return in 2022. So should we just run through the confirmed calendar, Charlie, here?
Yeah.
So on the 26th of February, it's the Saudi Arabia E-Prix. The 27th of February, it's the Saudi Arabia E-Prix again. On the 10th of April, it's the Rome E-Prix. That is subject to contract, though. The 24th of April, it's the Spanish E-Prix in Valencia. That's also subject to contract. The 8th of May is the Monaco E-Prix around the Principality. That's also subject to COVID-19 regulations. On the 22nd of May, they go to Marrakesh in Morocco.
On the 7th of and on June the 5th, that is Santiago, Chile, and I believe the last race is also in Santiago, Chile as well at the moment. I mean, could we see any more races potentially?
I think we could. I think they will do the London E-Prix this year. I hope they will do the London E-Prix this year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I've been hearing about the circuit that was originally meant to be in Docklands. Oh, well, that's in the Excel Centre where the start-finish straight was. Well, they can't.
I think they're still doing that. But obviously, that's going to cause problems because the Excel Centre is a COVID-19 vaccination hotspot here. I don't think the government would be particularly happy if Formula E wanted to race through the vaccine centre.
Could they do a race at Battersea Park again, maybe?
They could do. I didn't really. If they were doing one, I'd rather them do it at Silverstone, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think Silverstone would be a good fit. I'd also have to shout out another circuit as well that could be quite interesting. And it's one that I think a lot of people might sort of say it's a bit too fast. I would say potentially you could put Brands Hatch on there or Thruxton. That could be a good.
Yeah, if I had the choice on those, I'd definitely go with Brands Hatch, just because it's the nicer circuit, isn't it? Really, with the series.
They could use the GP loop as well, which would be quite actually.
Well, I think they'd have to use the Grand Prix loop, wouldn't they? Because the IndyCar circuit would be far, far too short.
Yeah, as well. And obviously, Jack, going into the season, last year, Antonio Felix da Costa won the championship. What do you expect from him?
Again, like without seeing the cars, without having the test, it's going to be tight. You can't really tell. Formula E, there's never much to separate it, is there?
What did you make of Antonio Felix da Costa last year?
Yeah, I thought he was very good. He was above everyone, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. I mean, John-Eric Verne done quite well it's last year with Chichita. But I have to say, I think there are some new guns. I mean, you've got Rene Rast going to Audi. You've got Maxi Gunter, I think, going in at BMW. There's a lot of drivers that could really surprise you. And what circuit, Jack, is your favourite Formula E destination?
I'm not sure. I really like the Paris Prix, so it's a real shame that this year it's not going to be happening, but it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Now, for the final thing of this podcast, me and Jack are going to take you back on a couple of big incidents in Formula E. And I have to say, Jack, the first one that springs to mind is the 2014 Chinese Prix.
You couldn't really miss that one, could you? Nick Heidfeld and coming together with Nico Prost on the last lap of the last corner, and Heidfeld ultimately ending up on his roof.
It was a very bizarre crash, and I don't understand why Prost turned into the last corner.
I've never understood why the car flipped in the way it did.
I'm shocked by that, to be honest. I've never seen it in any motor race where a car flips almost like 720 degrees into the barrier. It was unbelievable. And Lucas Di Grassi only won the race, only led the race for one corner.
I think it was less than that, wasn't it? Because they crashed on the exit.
It was only 500. It was like a few hundred meters. But yeah, Di Grassi winning that one. Then I have to say there was another one as well, season 3 in London. Oh my God, this one was the first lap of the London E-Prix. Lucas Di Grassi going into the back of Sebastian Buemi. And this one had the journalists all over it, because this was actually the weekend where both drivers were fighting for the championship.
It was the final round of the season, wasn't it? And Sebastian Buemi got the fastest lap in the end and ultimately won the championship by 1 point, Charlie. What were the chances of that?
It was crazy. I just watched that race and I'm like, Di Grassi just got his braking wrong, and then they both had to use jumping their car.
Do you think he got his braking wrong or he done it on purpose?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I'd say he probably done it on purpose, actually, given how fast he went into the back of him.
It looked intentional, didn't it? The way he went in, I think.
Yeah, I think give credit to Renault Edams back then. It was quite a bizarre crash. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, another one I'd have to throw in as well was in 2000. I think it was season 6, if I remember. Where I think it was I forgot where it was. It was like New York or somewhere, where Felipe Massa ended up colliding with John-Eric Verne.
Yeah, I think it was New York E-Prix.
Yeah, that was a bizarre crash, wasn't it, Jack? Felipe Massa just crashing into John-Eric Verne.
It was, yeah, it was a bizarre one.
It was, because ultimately Verne that day was fighting for the championship as well.
Verne won the championship, didn't he, in the end? Well,
he finished in a good position, didn't he, to win the championship? I mean, it's a good one, isn't it? And I think someone also we'll do a couple of Formula One sort of highlights. We'll throw back a couple of them. I'll do one from Monaco, 1988. Who doesn't remember Ayrton Senna crashing out with 12 laps to go at Portier? And Jack, that had the gloves off for Senna, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Apparently, I read up, he did not speak to anyone until about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And he didn't even speak to Ron Dennis. He walked back to his hotel room, apparently.
He did not speak to anyone. No one at all. Media, team, nothing.
Yeah, and the last one we're going to do before we wrap this up. I have to say, Jack, what about the 2003 British Grand Prix? The marshal on the lunatic on the track down the Hanger Straight. What did you make of that?
Well, if it even crosses your mind to run on any racetrack with any racing car, you've got to be mentally ill to even think about doing that.
Maybe he had too many pints of alcohol. Maybe he was running across the track, wasn't he? And then I had to deploy. Davy Coulthard tried going for a move on someone, and then he had to dart back because there was a yellow flag. What did you make of the marshals for recovering that person off the circuit?
Yeah, the marshals did well, but even so, it's a highly, highly dangerous situation.
It is. I don't understand why he went. I don't understand why he done it. It was crazy, wasn't it?
No, I think the last time it happened was 2015 in Singapore. We had someone decide to take a stroll on the side of the racetrack as well.
We did. Oh yes, I remember that because Sebastian Vettel was on the team radio saying, "Oh, there's a man on the track." Down. It was down. I think on the exit of was it turn 13 or somewhere? It was like on the exit, the bottom of where the hairpin is.
I see people run on cricket pitches and football pitches and stuff like that, and you think, well, that's a bit silly. But it's on the charts. It's not dangerous, is it? But running on a live Formula One racetrack is off the charts in how dangerous that is.
It's stupid. I don't understand why. And the thing was as well, that day, Rubens Barrichello won the race. And then after the race, he then smashed his winning trophy. I can't believe Rubens Barrichello actually doing that, where he smashed a pillow and his winning trophy literally got disintegrated. And that showed you just how crazy the day was at Silverstone, where you had a marshal, someone running out on the track down the Hanger Straight, one of the fastest straights on the circuit. Cars were doing over 190 miles per hour in time. To have that person running out when someone tries to attempt to go for an overtake, it was dangerous. And I really thank the marshals, Jack, for what they've done. That the determination to go and recover him off the track was exemplary, wasn't it?
It was exemplary because if anyone gets hit by one of those cars, they're not going to survive.
No, it's not. Definitely not. You're talking like 30. This is sort of a science thing here. If you're driving at 30 miles per hour on a public road in like a Mercedes A-Class or something, and you get run over, the chances of survival are like 70%. But if you do it like 150 miles per hour, your chances are a lot lower, aren't they?
Yeah, because effectively, if you go to 60 miles an hour, there's a 35% of you chancing surviving. If you go to what would it be? 120 miles an hour, there's like a 17.5% of you surviving. So pretty much by the time you get to 190, 200 miles an hour, your chance of survival is going to be 0%.
It is. I mean, you got to think, Formula One is designed to be a safe sport. We know that. And to be honest with you, if someone got hit by that car, it would be horrendous. I mean, basically, I remember that day, and that was the year I was born as well. It shouldn't have happened. That marshal running out on the track. It was like the lunatic, the person. The
marshal did the right thing. It was the lunatic who did the wrong thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think, the marshals, that's why we have marshals in Formula One. We have marshals to protect the drivers and safeguard the racetrack.
The marshals, if there's a big accident and the driver's injured, they're the first people on the scene as well.
Definitely, 100%. And that is all we've got time for today for Hotlap Vodcast. I hope everyone has enjoyed this podcast. I could blabber on all day, but I don't really want to. We have honestly got more news. And of course, please keep up to date with all the F1 news to all the listeners out there. If you can visit www.formula1.com for all the latest news. And I'll live on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care. Goodbye.